Alright, ECE 173 final project. I'm just going to get right into it here. So here we have all of the functions that we're going to be using. I'll get into those a little bit later, but I'm going to start out here in the main function. So this entire area right here was the code given to us, and this is just going to get us the random array that we can start to work with once we really get into the extra functions. Then we have this while loop here that will constantly display the menu. And there's the insert element, delete element, access element, modify element, display element, and then exit the program. And then it'll have the user select his choice, he'll enter, and then we'll enter this switch case statement with the choice that the user entered. And then case 1 is going to be the insert element, and it's going to take in some of that info and then send it over. Case 2 is going to be the delete element, and then same thing, it's going to take that info and send it over. Case 3 is going to be the access element. Case 4 is going to be the modify element. Case 5 is going to be the display array. And then case 5 is going to free the pointer and end the program. And then if anything else is entered, it's just going to say invalid choice and make you re-choose. And then once case 6 is entered, it will change that while loop to 0, and then change it to 0 so it knows that it's done with this part, and then it'll basically just terminate the main function, and from there we'll be done. So starting off here, I created this resize array function since it can be used with both the insert and delete function. So I'll show that in more detail, but it's basically just going to be the memory reallocation. It's just going to be the relock function, or the reallocation function, and then it's going to deal with if the reallocation failed. But I'll get into that a little more once I get into these next ones. Here we got the insert element function, and like I said before, they already have the index and the element that they want to work with. So what it'll do is, this just deals with if it's an invalid area to have, or an invalid index, I should say. And then it'll send the array to the resize function, and it'll work there. And then afterwards, it will, where am I? Oh, here we are. Afterwards, it'll increase the size. And then for this for loop, it'll enter this for loop here, and it'll just shift everything over, and then set the index that the user specified to the element. And then it'll be done, and like I said, it'll send you back to the menu, and you can make another choice. The delete function is very similar. There's, they have the size, or the index that they want to delete. I guess they won't really need a element. I don't know what I'm saying here. But it'll enter this if loop here, and that's also just going to deal with if the user entered an invalid index. And then afterwards, it will work in this for loop here, and it'll basically just do the same thing, shift everything over, and get rid of that element there, and then it'll resize the array, send it there. Which, it's kind of nice just to have that extra function, just since it works with both of the insert and delete element. It's kind of nice how you can just send it over and do it all in one move. And then afterwards here we have the access element, and this takes the array and the size, and enter the index you would like to access, and then it saves that, and it basically just kind of works by just entering into the array, and then that'll just get sent in. Same with the index. And then it deals with whether or not the user entered an invalid index. And then afterwards, the modify element. So once again, this will just take in the array and the size. Tell the user to enter the index of the element they want to modify. And then variable set, and that will be saved. And then afterwards, it'll have you enter in the new value and print everything. And then also deal with the invalid index. And then the final function was the display array. And this one is just going to be a for loop that'll work its way up to the size of the array and print everything out. And that's basically the end of all the functions. Like I said, if they chose 6, it'll basically just end everything, but 1 through 5, it'll enter one of these and work through them. So now I'll show you what it looks like. So enter the size of the array. I'll just choose 5. And then now the menu pops up. So if you wanted to, I'll just show what would happen if you enter an invalid number on the menu. So if you entered like 90, it'll say invalid choice, send you back. And then I'm going to display the array here so we can work with some of the other functions. Alright, so we have the array here, 5 elements. So starting out with the insert element. Say you wanted to insert 30 right in between negative 40 and 29 here, the first and second index. So we would want that to be at index 2. And then I said 30, and it'll store that. And then once you display the array again, it'll be there. Now, say we wanted to delete an element. Let's say we wanted to get rid of this negative 46 here. We could enter in the index at 0 and then display it again. And we could see the 46 is gone. And then I'll show this as well. If you wanted to, this works with both the insert and delete element. If you wanted to, say, go to index 10, that would be invalid. And then for the delete element, that would also be invalid. So next, we have the access element. So we know at 4, the index 4 on the array, we're going to have 34. So, oops. If we wanted to access that, we could just say, enter the index of the element you want, 4. And that'll just tell us the element at index 4 is 34. And then, once again, finally, just the display array. And it'll work through all of this until option 6 is entered. And then it'll just end everything. So, it's kind of a cool program. And it really gets to show some of the cool abilities that can be done. A lot of troubleshooting, but in the end it works pretty well. So thank you for listening, and I will post all the files and everything needed in Blackboard. Thank you very much.